Hello and welcome. My name is Christina from Empowered Creator. I'm a mindset and conscious manifesting teacher and coach, and this is my YouTube channel. Here I talk about all things law of assumption, mindset, conscious manifesting, the quantum universe, and a lot more. And my goal is to simplify everything without the fluff. So if you guys like this content and you would like to see more of it, I would love it if you would subscribe to this channel, comment on this video, like it, share it, and just stick around. Also, if you need any help with your specific situation, I offer one-on-one coaching, email coaching, small group coaching, as well as custom subliminals for whatever needs you may have. So if you guys are interested in any of these services, the links are below in the description box. Click on them and they're going to take you to my website. With all that being said, let's dive into today's video. In today's video, we're going to talk about action when manifesting a specific person. Should I take action? What action should I take? When should I take action? When should I not take action? These are all questions I'm being asked on a regular basis, so I thought it's worth making a video about it. This is what I'm going to be discussing today, action when it comes to manifesting a specific person, so stay tuned. So let's start with the question, should I take action when manifesting my specific person? Do I need to take action to move things along? Do I need to take action to see my manifestation in the 3D? The answer is no. Strictly speaking, you don't need to take any action. Your manifestation is going to find you. Your manifestation is going to find a way to come to you. It's going to find ways to materialize in your 3D because it comes from your higher self. Your higher self knows that your manifestation has already happened in the 4th dimension. Your manifestation is already here, is already done, and it already knows the ways and the paths through which it can happen in this 3D world, in this 3D reality. So no, you don't actually need any action. As long as you are dwelling in the state of the wishful field, as long as you keep revisiting that state over and over and over and making it your dominant state, aligning your energy with that state, your manifestation is going to find a way to happen. So the answer to the question of should I take any action or not? No, you shouldn't feel obligated to take any action. You shouldn't feel like you need to take any action. You don't need any action, okay? Now, that doesn't mean that you are forbidden from taking action. That's a very different thing. You don't necessarily need it. You don't strictly need it. But it doesn't mean that if you feel inspired to take action, and I'm going to go into that in a minute, that you are prohibited from taking that action, that it's going to ruin your manifestation in some way, that it's going to mess things up. No. I'm going to explain in the next section of this video when you should take action if you feel an urge, and when you should actually avoid it, when you should actually sit back. But before I explain this, again, I want it made very clear that you don't actually need to take any action to make your manifestation happen. Your manifestation is going to happen no matter what, as long as you're aligning your dominant states, your dominant inner energies, assumptions, beliefs, thoughts, feelings with the state of the wishful field, with the reality you're bringing forth in the 3D. Now, what happens and what do you do if you actually feel an urge to take action? Yes, you don't need it. It's not strictly needed. Your manifestation will find you no matter what. But what happens if you actually feel an urge to take action? Not necessarily to move the manifestation forward, and I'm going to explain this, but just out of the blue, you feel an inspiration, you feel an urge, and you feel very natural about taking that action. So this is what I'm going to be discussing next. So when you're feeling an urge to take action with your specific person, for example, if you're starting to feel an urge to call them or to text them or message them on social media, or maybe if you live close by, go by their house and just meet them, or go by some place where you know they go often in the hopes that you're going to see them and talk to them, whether you should or shouldn't take that action depends on the dominant state you're in that moment, on that day, on that week, on those few days. And I'm going to tell you why. A lot of the time, when we're manifesting a specific person, the urge to take action comes from a state of needing validation, needing confirmation, perhaps a state where you've been manifesting them for a while, maybe a few days, a few weeks, even a few months at times. And if you haven't seen movement, you feel the need to check the 3D. You feel the need to actually get some confirmation that what you're doing is working. So you tell yourself that you actually need to take action in order to check the 3D, in order to check that what you've been manifesting is working, is showing up in some way, or things like that. Also, a lot of the time, the urge to take action when it comes to a specific person comes from a need to force the 3D to happen faster. It comes from a need or a false perception that if you don't do anything, nothing is going to happen in the 3D. That you have to somehow push things, that you have to somehow manipulate things in a way, somehow instigate some change, force things to happen, and just move them along. So if your urge for action in regards to your specific person comes from any of those states or any sort of similar mindset, similar thinking, similar inner feeling, my advice would be to actually sit back, actually not take action in that moment, on that day, and either distract yourself with something else and try to get yourself into a better state, into a more stable state, into a state that's less needy, into a state that's more trusting, into a state that you know your manifestation is coming no matter what you do or you don't do, because all of these energies of trying to check the 3D, trying to get confirmation, try to get validation, checking if the 3D has moved yet, checking if the 3D has shifted, checking to see if anything has changed, all of these actually come from the state of the wish not fulfilled. All of these come from a state where you are feeling like you don't have your specific person, where you're starting to feel anxious and stressed and worried that things might not move along. So you feel like you have to do something to move them along, or you need to do something to get some confirmation or some validation. And by the way, there's absolutely no shame to that, to any of that. This is all human. This is all part of our human nature. We all get into that sort of a needy energy at times. So don't beat yourself up for that if you're in that state. However, because all of these urges tend to come from a state where you're feeling lack, you're feeling that you don't have your specific person, you are feeling afraid and worried that you may not have them, okay? It's actually best that you avoid taking action from a state like that. And the reason for that is not because it's going to mess up your manifestation. Your manifestation cannot be messed up. Your manifestation is done and it's yours. However, if you take action from one of those states, it's possible that you might get disappointed, because remember, the 3D world reflects back to us who we are within, who we are dominantly within, okay? So you take action from a state of needing confirmation, validation, checking the 3D, trying to force the 3D, trying to move things along. There's a decent chance that what the 3D might reflect back to you, you might not like. Best case scenario, you may see no change at all and you might get disappointed. You might feel like what I'm doing is not working, that I've been wasting my time for all this time, all these weeks, all these months, and nothing is happening. So best case scenario, it might actually set you back a little bit in your mindset and in how you feel and in your inner state. Worst case scenario, because taking this kind of action actually comes from a state of lack and actually comes from a state where the message you're giving to the 3D world is, I don't have it, I don't have it, I don't have it, okay? You might even see it backfire, and you might even see something that is actually worse than what it was before. And this is not because the 3D cannot change. The 3D can absolutely change. The 3D always changes to reflect our dominant inner energies and our dominant inner states. However, like I said, it might cause you a setback. It might cause you to get disappointed, to get discouraged. It might cause you to question everything. And while this is not the end of the world, because you can always get yourself back into a better state, and eventually you will anyway, why put yourself through that possible grief? Why put yourself through that possible setback? Why put yourself through that possible discouragement? There's no reason. When you can actually, if you catch yourself wanting to take action from that state, from one of those states, you can actually sit back, tell yourself this is not the right time to take action, because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to force the 3D, or I'm looking for validation, I'm looking for confirmation, so I'm not on the right state, I'm not on a good state, so what might be reflected back to me, I may not like so much. And so then you just distract yourself, you just decide that you're not taking action at this point, it doesn't mean that you won't take any action at any other point, and then you just don't give in to that urge. You don't follow it, okay? And by the way, you're going to know which state you're in, because the urge to take action coming from those states is not going to feel very good within you. It's going to feel probably kind of icky in your body. You might feel stressed, you might feel anxious, you might be second guessing it a lot, you might be overthinking it, you might be overanalyzing it. All these are signs that the urge for action is not actually coming from a natural place. It's not coming from a good place. It's not coming from a place where you're feeling confident and knowing about your manifestation. And instead, it's coming from a place where you're trying to kind of sort of manipulate things to make things happen. With all that being said, however, there are some instances where if you are consistently or most consistently in a good state, in a stable state, mentally and emotionally, you are trusting, you are feeling like your manifestation is coming, you are content with your life, you're going about your life knowing that things are working out for you, you know your SP is yours, you know you're getting together or getting back together or whatever you're manifesting. And then while being in this state consistently, you actually get an urge out of the blue and all of a sudden, very spontaneously, without overthinking it, without having planned it, without having analyzed it and gone back and forth into your head, to actually do something, whether that's texting them or calling them or going by their place or going by their gym or whatever it is. If you feel an urge to take action from a state like that, where you're feeling stable, where you're not overly attached to any specific outcomes, where you don't care about the 3D, because you know that whatever is happening in the 3D is going to change very, very soon because your manifestation is yours. So if you're feeling good, you're feeling stable, you don't even worry about the outcome of whatever you might do, and it just feels natural. It feels like sort of an inspiration, and you can refer back to the video I did the other day about inspired action. Then in that case, I would say, you know what? Follow that urge. Do it. Do whatever your inspiration tells you to do, especially if it's something that's unusual, especially if it's something that comes very spontaneously, feels very natural, you haven't been thinking about it for days or for hours, and it just comes as naturally as when you would text your best friend, for example, and you wouldn't think twice about it. Then that might be a case where taking action might end up being a bridge to bringing you your desire. Or it might be a bridge where your desire comes closer. There is perhaps an important development that happens through taking that action, and things just move along. But they move along very naturally. They move along because that inspiration, that inspired action, that urge to do something or say something is actually a nudge from your higher self. And you will know that it's that because it's going to feel natural. You're not going to overthink it. You're probably not even going to think it right before you do it. And you just think about it in retrospect when you look back. And so if that's the case and you get this sudden urge out of nowhere as you're going about your life to do something or say something or I don't know what, then it's up to you. Because as I said in the beginning of this video, you don't strictly need any action to get your manifestation. However, if you get that urge, and you feel good about it and you feel natural about it, and especially if you do it in a very spontaneous way and you don't even think twice about it, then it could very well be a bridge to your desire and a bridge and an important development perhaps towards your manifestation. But the important thing is, again here, how you feel inside. It's going to feel like, it's probably not going to feel like much of anything. It's going to feel natural, it's going to feel almost neutral, it's going to feel like, I just thought about doing it and I did it, or you don't even realize you're doing it in some cases. This is a very, very different kind of action to the kind of action that you would take to try and force things along, to try and get validation, to try and get confirmation that what you're doing is working, to try and just push the 3D to happen faster and to move faster. That is a very, very different kind of energy and a very, very different kind of action as such. So with all that being said, I'm going to wrap up this video here. I intend that this has helped. As always, I very much appreciate you guys being on this channel, watching this content. I love making this content for you. And as always, I look forward to seeing you all at the next video. Until then, take care and bye-bye.